You too. Thanks for being here.
So then, of course, what's behind this current selling, this recent selling of the tech, in your opinion?
Look, it's just the Fed jitters, in terms of the 10-year moving higher, worries about inflation, the Fed hikes. I think you're seeing more valuation sensitivity, which is going to disproportionately hurt tech in terms of what we're seeing on some of these valuations. We believe this doesn't mean that tech stocks don't move higher. It's just going to be more white knuckle. We still think tech stocks are up 20% for the year.
On the other side, you do not believe that this is, how can I say, a beginning of rotation?
Look, I mean, covering tech 21 years, too many times I've seen tech stocks sort of take a pause on Fed fears of the 10-year moving higher. And yet we look at the last decade, and I think we're still in sort of the middle innings of a re-rating in tech. It's a fourth industrial revolution playing out. And as much as we can talk about valuation sensitivity with the Fed hiking 2, potentially 3 times, I also think growth is being underestimated by 12 to 15% by the street.
Dan, if we take a look at the Nasdaq Composite in 2021, so the major drivers were just mostly, by the way, the FANGs and few stocks, specifically Apple, Tesla, Microsoft, if you like, and a few more, of course. So I was wondering, do you think that this trend is going to continue into 2022?
Look, I think they're strong, continue to get stronger. Yeah, I mean, I think Apple, we saw the $3 trillion. I think it's ultimately $3.5 trillion by year end. But you look at the digital transformation in areas like, you look at Microsoft on cloud. I mean, I think that's not slowing down based on everything that we're seeing. And I think that ultimately will join the $3 trillion club along with Apple. You look at areas like cybersecurity, 5G, and also areas like artificial intelligence. These are growth trends that are outsized to anything that we've seen over the last few decades.
What's your take? Sorry, go ahead.
No, which is why we're ultimately bullish on tech, despite some of these valuation and 10-year fears.
So how would you explain this major jump from 950 to 1,149 in pre-market trading, $1,141,000 per share when it comes to Tesla, of course?
Look, I mean, those 4Q delivery numbers, that was jaw-dropping in terms of just what they delivered, especially with the chip shortage and those headwinds. I think it just shows that demand story for Tesla is actually accelerating into 2022. And also, capacity gets added. If you look at Berlin and Austin, those are 2 key cogs in the overall bull thesis from a capacity perspective. 1,400 are base case for Tesla, 1,800 bull case. I still think this is a stock that moves much higher. I think that, this is just probably the first step of this next leg.
So how important is the Chinese market for Tesla and Apple, in your opinion, in 2022? And do you think that specifically Tesla is going to be able to gain even more share within the US market?
China is the linchpin to the success of both Tesla and Apple, both from a supply perspective, of course, with Giga Shanghai, and then you look at Apple with Foxconn, and a demand, because that's going to be 40% of deliveries for Tesla in terms of China. Now, look, is that a risk given the regulatory environment? I think that's what some investors will say. I disagree. I mean, I think if you look at EV right now, demand, they're gaining about 200 to 300 bips of market share from domestic players. That continues to be one of the big things to their success. We think they could be on a 50,000 per month run rate in China in 2022.
So do you foresee any competition, like serious competition for Tesla in 2022, also from Chinese companies? By the way, they also delivered way above expectations, but still not comparable to Tesla.
Yeah, I mean, look, we're bullish on NIO, Xpeng. I think those are 2 specific ones that stick out in terms of China. It's not necessarily a zero-sum game. Domestic players will be extremely successful as well as Tesla. But when you look in the U.S. market, you start to have some of these stalwarts like Ford, GM, you have VW in Europe, a lot more competition across the board. But at least in EV land, it's Tesla's world and everyone else is paying rent.
And of course, a very interesting comment on Apple hitting intraday, hitting for a second the 3 trillion market cap so far, off about 0.3% in pre-market trading and 179, almost $179.26 per share. So I was wondering, what's the ceiling here? And I mean, what's the ceiling and what's gonna be driving this stock increase in 2022?
Look, the monetization of Apple is unparalleled in terms of what we saw with iPhone 12, now iPhone 13. I still think right now demand's outstripping supply by about 12 million units, but a big part of the re-rating is services. I think that's worth 1.5 trillion, and it's our opinion by middle of 2023, this will be not a $3 trillion market cap, but 4 trillion. And it just speaks to, they hated it 1 trillion, despised it at 2 trillion, screaming at 3 trillion. The haters will continue to hate. I think the stock continues to move higher.
And final take, Dan, what are your best tech picks for 2022?
I love cybersecurity. I look at names like Palo Alto, Zscaler, or CyberArk. Tesla and Apple continue to be our favorites. Microsoft, and then, you know, an under the radar data analytics play, Wejo, that's one of our favorites.
Thank you very much. Daniel Ives, Managing Director, Equity Research, Wedbush Securities. Thank you for joining us. Have a great day, Dan.
You too.